Judy. How
Neibra.
I have so missed you. I have it's been one of those weeks for me. So I have been thinking about you. I've been missing you and I've been needing to communicate with you. So glad to have you.
Well, the feeling is mutual, and I'm not going to exaggerate when I say I kind of miss my old house. I kind of miss our sofas. They were so cool in front of the fireplace. Yeah. Okay. But
To at least once a month, just get together at your house just to have our sofa time like we used to have. How about that?
yeah, okay, I'm game. It's just not the same. I mean, we have to, yeah, that's what happens. This is a little secret. If you look at, I changed my cover page on the Facebook. And for those who've been to my house, that picture might look very familiar. Did you look at it by chance?
I did. And
Did it look familiar?
I almost started crying because I missed the old house and the couch and the love seat and all of the conversations that we had at that house.
That's probably because our communication was on point as it continues to be. So I guess location really doesn't have anything to do with effective communication. So anyway, what are we doing? It's our second taping.
So we're Friendly Discourse number 2 as we get prepared for the Enrichment Empowerment Women's Conference that's scheduled for February 24th at TCC on healthy relationships. You and I are going to have a series of discussions about effective communication. Today, we're going to talk about love languages.
We are, but before you get there, if anyone goes online trying to register at Eventbrite, they probably need to look for Living the Balanced Life, because otherwise they'll kind of be lost. So it's Living the Balanced Life, and our topic is healthy relationships, and that's February 24th. Register at Eventbrite. All right, we're going to talk about what?
Love languages. Last time we talked about personality differences, and we highlighted the differences between our personalities and how, with the grace of God, by the grace of God, we were able to blend our different personalities and make it work. And we've maintained a relationship for over 30 years now.
We've decided that he graced you a whole lot more than he graced me.
I'll take credit for that. I will, because it required a lot of patience, but it has been a blessing. It has been a journey, but it was well worth it. No
Well,
regret.
the mission statement, it's not the mission statement, but the little line that we have for GRM2 is journey to understanding. So I guess as we talk about this, there's a lot of, now you're having understanding of your journey with me over the last 30 years. And the same for me. I'm understanding you like I've never seen or understood you before. So let's stay on this journey.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about love languages. So I think most people have heard about the love language, the 5 different love languages, but we're going to do something different. And we're going to talk about love languages, not necessarily or exclusively in the context of romantic relationships, but generally in our relationships with our friends, our coworkers, our boss, just everybody in our circle, because the women's conference is about discovering your personality, the weaknesses and positives of your personality, and trying to use that information to improve your relationships, both personal relationships and professional relationships. So we're gonna do something creative, and we're gonna tie these love languages into our everyday relationships with other people. You ready?
That's actually not very hard, but let's for those of you who want to fact check us, love language is a theory that was in a book written by Gary Chapman, and he's actually written several books. And the other book that we looked at as we prepared for today was The 5 Languages of Children, Love Languages of Children. And I think the point that just jumped out at me when I'm going to go ahead and use the word preparing for our session today. I read the book. I'm familiar with the 5 languages. So just very quickly, everyone listening, those 5 languages are words of affirmation. In fact, I'll just open up the book and see if I can just read them out. It is words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Those languages, now there may be, and there are, let's just assume that there are other languages, but these are just the 5 that Chapman has identified and he's done his research and his theory on. But the point I'm making is that I went and I picked up from the library the book as it relates to children. And as I was reading through the book, I was thinking to myself, what's my son's love language? What's my daughter-in-law, my precious daughter-in-law's language, Dion? And what I call my granddaughters, my special K girls, because one is named Kira, the first one's Kira, and the second one is Kyla. And I was thinking to myself, what is their primary, secondary love languages? And Neibra, I could not identify my son's love language.
Her sons, I could see the daughter-in-law and maybe the grandchildren, but
No.
Jason's?
I couldn't identify my son's love language. So of course that meant that we had to have a conversation. So I'm backdooring in it, trying to be very tactful in case I got, the door slammed in my face. And he said to me that he was well aware of them, that he and Dion had discussed them, that they identified theirs and they identified the girls. And then he said he didn't have one. He doesn't fit within the 5.
Did not have one. Oh, he did not fit within the 5. Did he identify one outside of the 5?
No, and when he said that, I felt such relief. I felt such relief because it said to me that some of the challenges that I had in having a healthy relationship with my son and being able to communicate with him in a manner that was helpful and healthy for both of us. No wonder I was having such a hard challenge. But I will tell you this. We took Jason to see a counselor. I guess I did. Well, anyway, the outcome of the counseling session was that the counselor told me that my son knew that I loved him, but apparently one of his languages is words of affirmation. And she said to me, I need to say to my son that I love you. Now, y'all have mercy on me. Y'all listening to this. I'm not really a touchy-feely person.
If they did not know it, they learned it at the friendly discourse number 1.
That's
not touchy-feely.
That's not my strong suit. And so I started saying to Jason every morning when I let him out of the car, driving him off to school, I love you. And after about a week of that, I was done. Like, I'd had enough of this. Like, little boy, if you don't know that your mama loves you, I don't know what else to do. And the very first morning that I did not say to him, I love you, Jason turned and he said it to me. And it was like a light went off in my head.
Yeah.
I realized that in order for our relationship to be healthy, Jason needed to hear me, actually say, I love you. And so I've tried to do so much better, even now when I talk to Jason and I end with him, I try hard to say the words, I love you.
So why is it so hard for you? We understand that you're not hardwired to be touchy-feely, but by now, how old is Jason?
Jason, I don't know, he was born in 78.
So he's up in age, 40s.
40, 45, 46-ish.
So after 40, 45 years, is it still?
Wait. Okay, all y'all who got comments that I don't know the age of my child.
I was gonna keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving. I know when he was born, I can tell you that.
So after all those years, is it still a struggle for you?
Jason and I have had some very rough moments in our relationship because he articulated to me that he saw me always, I don't know how to, y'all just don't have to work with me, buying things for him that I guess the gifts. And he somehow or another saw my love attached to financial wherewithal, as opposed to I'm getting you these things because it is an expression of my love for you, and the things that I'm getting for you are things that you need. I am not one of them spoily dolly mamas, okay? And I'll give you a good example of what I mean. He asked me for a printer, and my first words to him, he was in high school, right at Lincoln High School, for those of you who know Tallahassee, I said, sure, when Christmas comes, I'll get you a printer. And my mind, actually probably the Holy Spirit said to me, that is the selfiest, dumbest thing you could do. The boy needs a printer now. Why are you going to make him wait until Christmas time to get it? And with that rebuke, I promptly went to the store and promptly bought my son a first-class quality printer, a printer of the quality that he was able to take to college and use for a good little while. And he was the editor of the newspaper, and that printer was useful, okay? So that gift, so I guess I was speaking the language of gifts.
Receiving and giving gifts.
Receiving it, well, not so much I'm a receiver, but giving gifts, all right? And somehow or another, he has seen my love for him somehow or another attached to gifts. Well, that apparently is not his preferred language.
Well, let's talk about what is your language, your love language.
Mine absolutely is quality time. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. That's one of the reasons we get along so well, because you give me quality time.
Quality time. I know when to give it to you and I know when to not.
And by the way, what is your primary language?
Well, really, Judy? What do you think it is?
No, you asked me a point blank question. I gave you a point blank answer.
And acts of service.
And words of affirmation, even in our relationship. I was giving you words of affirmation, but I wasn't speaking it in your language.
Well, you would tell me how you appreciate our friendship. You've said that.
No. Back in those early days, early days, when you were the associate working in my law office, and you told the story last week about my encouraging you to write your brief. And how
you didn't give me, well, let me help you out. The words of affirmation came later on, like much, much later.
No, that's your interpretation.
Long enough to wait for it. I can tell you.
But that's your interpretation. I would not have been pushing you, encouraging you to do better if I were not saying to you, Neibra, I think that you have both the ability intellectually and legally to accomplish this task. And those were words of affirmation. I'm saying, I believe in you. I have no doubt in my mind that you are competent and capable. However, I didn't say, Neibra, I think you're competent and capable. I just said, go back and do it again.
Well, I apologize for the interruption. My little mini me walked in my office. I would have introduced her to everybody, but she's doing a costume change. I think she's a superhero now, so she's a hot mess right now, and I dare not let her be on the screen on YouTube. I appreciate it. I accept it. I guess in my way, I was trying to figure out what your love language was. Quality time, I would have never guessed during the time when we were working together. Because if you remember, I don't know if you remember, we remember, it's always the victims remember things.
Don't call yourselves victims.
We remember things. You had this, your policy was, you got there real early, like crack of dawn before anybody else is at work.
Don't make it crack of dawn. I just got there before the rest of y'all did.
It was the roosters. And we were not to interrupt you, not even, we had to walk quietly past your door and we could not interrupt you. You would let us know when you were ready for us. And then when you were ready for us, ready or not, you were coming. And so you would come out, say we arrived at work at 8 o'clock, you would come out around 9, like a hurricane, and you would come in, Neibra, do this, Terry, I need you to do this. And in our minds, we were like, what about our quiet time? It's like you just walked in the room or you called a staff meeting or something and totally disrupt our concentration. And we thought that was real selfish of you to come in, to be very protective of your quality time and quiet time, but to disrupt ours. Call a meeting, lady. Schedule a staff meeting, lady. Don't just come into our offices and disrupt our train of thought. But you were clueless, like we discovered last time. You were absolutely clueless of the things that you were doing to us. And we were so intimidated by you, we did not communicate those things. Now, that was back in the day. Now, you know, I communicate everything. So now that I know, and I've learned from you that.
Oh, wait, would you tell them the rest of the story? You all did confront me and we came to a wonderful compromise. Do you remember that part of the story?
Um, tell me.
I'll help you. The part of the story is you all let me know that it was disruptive to you all, that you all wanted to have quality time when y'all finally got to work at 8 o'clock. So I was having my quality time before 8 o'clock. You all came in at 8 o'clock and you wanted to have your quiet time then. So we made the agreement that I would work from home, which would allow you all to have quality time in the office. And then when I came into the office, we all would be on the same page, because when I came into office, I then could go da 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 da, and we all kind of work through it. Now, see, I can be trained a little bit.
It took communication, and that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about communication and effective communication. And so we were able to weather the storm in our earlier relationship and our work relationship because we were communicating to each other. Now, had I known, and let's go back and talk about the love languages, okay? Had I known back then that quality time was your language and words of affirmation were that was my love language, do you think that it would have improved our relationship early on? It would have lessened the frustration. I know you weren't frustrated with me, I'm sure, but lessened the frustration that I had with you had we just known that or taken time to learn that about each other. Okay, communicate it. I mean, which comes first? Do you communicate your love language or do we figure it out on our own?
I think it's different for people. I'm hoping that as a result of this friendly discourse, those who are listening will begin to actually give it some, I call it gray cells now, in their minds and their brains. And it's really easy, pretty much, to figure out another person's primary language if you begin to observe them. So as I read the book and I thought about my granddaughters in particular, I was spot on for one. I hit her right on the button. I backdoored into Dion's, and I was a little not clear on my other granddaughters. But as we talked about Dion's, Jason said that her primary language was quality time. And I said, I gave her quality time backdoored. And by that, I mean this. My son was deathly ill twice. And both times that I went from Florida to Maryland to be there, I told Dion that my goal was to take over all the responsibilities that were Jason's responsibilities. For instance, he was responsible for getting the girls to school. I did that. And I kept the house clean. I became basically a housekeeper, a laundry lady. I did the laundry. I just stepped in and I did acts of service. Yes. But those acts of service that I did translated into quality time for her. Because when she walked into the house and the kitchen was spotless, I know y'all shocked, but yeah, I do know how to do these things. And I do have a strong history of having done them. But when she would walk in the house and the kitchen was spotless, and I remember one day she wasn't feeling well. She came home. I knew she was coming home kind of sick. I changed the linen on her bed. The house was spotless clean. And I took the girls out of the house so that when she arrived home, she climbed into her bed. Now, I wasn't speaking anybody's language. I was just doing what needed to be done. But by doing acts of service, I actually was giving her quality time.
Well, let's talk about, okay, so let's put this in effect. So let's be hypothetical, role play a little bit. I know quality time is your love language. You know, one of them is words of affirmation. The other is acts of service. So tell me what kind of things, and let's put it in different contexts. Let's talk about it in the work environment. We can go back to when we were working together, and let's talk about it in terms of our friendship. What kind of things do you believe that you can do to show me love in my language?
I think I backdoored into your language as well. I make a point to send you cards that you can look at and you can tell I didn't just walk to the counter and pull this card off. I stood there. I thought about this card. I read this card. I mulled over this card. And I thought to myself, when Neibra receives this card's going to have value to her.
Yeah. Yes.
I realized that you like candles. Once I finally realized that, it became a joy for me to try to get you just not any old candle. So words of affirmation can be gifts, receiving and giving gifts, but it comes with word of affirmation. I wouldn't be spending this much time on you if I didn't think you were valuable in my life. I mean, it just is. It just is. I mean, my words of affirmation to you are saying, I find our relationship very valuable to me. And so I'm actually just saying thank you for being a part of my life. I'm actually just saying thank you. But my saying thank you become words of affirmation for you. So they're blending in. I think the point I'm trying to make is we're blending in. So for you men, women, let your men folks hear this. A lot of men, their primary language is touch, okay? What do you call it?
Physical touch.
Oh, physical touch. Oh, that was just a piece of lint that fell out my fork, and I thought that was a bug inside. But anyway, so tell your men folks, if their primary language is physical touch, they need to help you clean the dishes. They need to help do something with those kids, because as they do that, they're speaking now your language, which are acts of service. And it just rolls over into, for the guy, acts of touch, physical touch. And for the woman, it rolls over into
Okay,
quality time.
I know, and I've learned, like you say, you backdoored into learning that words of affirmation, and you hit it on point exactly, because I think in some of my past relationships, they suffered because they didn't take the time to get to know me. When it came with the gifts, don't buy me. Gifts are fine. I'm not going to tell anybody what to spend their money on to buy me. But if you want it to have an impact on me, it should be something. I like sentimental stuff. I like stuff that I can save. You send me wonderful cards. And when I read the cards, it's very clear to me, as you indicated, that Judy mulled over this for a while, because the cards are right on point. They say what I need them to say, or they describe me. The last set of cards you gave me with the high heel shoes and all that, it was just perfect. The bling bling, but it tells me Judy has taken the time to get to know me, and she's sending me the things that are important to me. As opposed, you could buy me a Rolex watch, and it wouldn't mean as much to me as those cards do. But
Tell
also,
me, frame them.
I do. I have them framed, and also those wall hangers. If you remember the wall hangers, little simple wall hangers from Ross. Remember that has spiritual quotes. Be still and know that I'm God. You bought me wall hangings that I maintain, and I've hung up in my former living room and former dining room, and I like to walk by and just read them as a reminder of my relationship with God, and reminder that He's there. And whether you bought them for me, realizing that that was my love language, or you just bought them because you liked them, they mean something to me. And again,
I bought them because I saw, I never thought about speaking your language. And I guess I just got lucky and I hit the jackpot. I wasn't realizing that I was speaking your language. I was actually articulating to you how I feel about you, that I find that you have great value in my life. And I wanted to let you know that. And so since I'm not going to walk up to you and say, Neibra, I think you're the bomb and all that, boss lady and all that stuff.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
Yeah, you're not gonna
yeah,
do that. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, and I didn't realize that I enjoyed your company. So I didn't realize that my decision to, when I was week on, week off traveling to Tallahassee, and I would stay with you, I just enjoyed your company, but you were also convenient because you're in Tallahassee and my mom lives in Quincy. And because I was coming there for court, it was a little bit more convenient to stay with you also. But I didn't realize that that quality time, that couch time that we were having was important to you. It
You
was
were feeding my soul.
joining and we were just chit-chatting on the couch. But hindsight, now that I know that quality time is your love language, we again backdoored into it. But it is about getting to know a person, and you may not know that it's a language, but you're in tune with that person, and that's very, very, very important, especially in relationships, healthy relationships.
In fact, it's what builds healthy relationships. So when I was thinking about my granddaughters and I hit one spot on, I said her language is the language of gifts. She likes receiving gifts. And what made me realize how much she liked receiving gifts is like, she will come into my space and see something that she likes. And she'll just go, oh, Ma, can I have that? But not only does she like receiving gifts, she also likes giving gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Giving gifts feeds her soul. And I was really happy that I hit her spot on. My other granddaughter, I understand, is also a gift. Her language is gifts. One of her languages gifts. But when I give her gifts, she doesn't make me feel like the gift is special. So I kind of go to myself, well, I'll get this for her, but whereas the other one's like, oh, look what Omar gave me.
Yeah, yeah. And so you have to do different things for your the different granddaughters.
And it's the same. Now let's take this out of the family relationship. Let's take this over to the boss, to the work office. You were giving me quality time when we had really cerebral, well thought discussions, arguments about the cases that we were working on. That's quality time. Quality time to me is, I have to admit it, I got some gray cells going on in there.
Yeah.
So any man listening, if you want my quality, okay. But anyway, that's quality time.
Telling the secrets out there.
That's quality time for me. But the words of affirmation I was backdooring into you was, you're the only person in the office that I would have that quality of discussion with.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm not the touchy feely either. And you know, and so I didn't need the touchy feeliness. I needed the affirming that I was on the right track with work, that my task was on the right track. And that was a problem when we talked about at the last Friendly Discourse 1, we talked about on Clueless that you would send it back without instructions. You would send me back to rewrite it. And I was frustrated because you wanted me to rewrite this brief based on what argument was in your head. And I was like, I don't know what's in your head.
So she thought.
It would have, I think, had you said, Neibra, you're on point and your arguments are very strong. However, I just need you to do this, do this. That came later. And when it finally hit me, and then when we won the appeal, you were like, great job. You high-fived me. We celebrated. You came in and you said, you won your first appeal. That was just it for me. And it made me realize that you gave me those words of affirmation or the affirming behavior. It was just different than what I wanted.
It's different. The counselor told Jason that his mother loved him very much, but the way I showed my love for him was different from the conversations he was having with his friends. His friends were showing, his friends' mothers were showing love for them by cooking them special dinners. Like they didn't like what mom cooked, so she would make something special for them. It's like, that's not working over here. But I showed love for him that when we would take trips, he could bring along one of his friends. Again, though, but somehow or another, that would be connected with gifts or, financial resources as opposed to actual, and maybe why don't we just put this on the table? Mothers tend to want their children to have more than they've had.
Yes.
Mothers tend to want to give their children things that maybe they didn't have, or they're simply in the socioeconomic level where it's just a non-issue. And that's why we have some extremely unhealthy relationships in homes between mothers and children, because the kid could care the less about the Rolex watch. The kid wants mom to actually read them a bedtime story, cuddle with them. They want mom to help them do their homework. And you wonder why the relationship between the parent and child is not close. It's because the parent, and we do this too, we want to give to our children what we thought was missing in our lives. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get up in your Kool-Aid. You
Oh,
talk about your granddaughter being a mini me and how you relate to her so well, because at some level you see in her yourself.
yes.
And luckily for you, she really seems to be wired a lot like you.
Yeah.
So it's easy for you to speak her language. But if you were to bring her into my space, I wouldn't have the faintest clue how to relate to her, because that's and that showed with Jason. I grew up in a home where I have no doubt in my mind that my parents loved us. Okay. That's a no-brainer. But did they show it with all that touchy-feely stuff? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No way. So I didn't grow up with it. I don't have a high need for it. Consequently, I don't share it. I have to work at it. Like I said, I pay good money for that counselor to tell me I need to tell my son I love him. Okay. I pay money for that.
Look, I think we all, I don't know a parent out there, an honest parent, that would say that they were perfect in their interaction with their children. I know that I made the mistake, the gifts, the giving gift. I felt like let now I'm getting all in my Kool-Aid on this platform. I've been married twice and they were both dysfunctional relationships. And I wanted to make up to my kids for my bad decisions with their fathers. Well, that was kind of harsh. I exposed my children to a dysfunctional relationship, and I wanted to make up for that by giving them gifts. Because I had achieved a level of financial success, I would buy the more expensive the gift I thought would show greater love for them. Neither of my children, receiving gifts was not the love language for neither of my children.
Mm-hmm.
I think for most children, especially when they're younger, it's the quality time. I had more money than I had free time to give to them. And I could stop, when amidst my shopping, whether it was grocery shopping or clothing shopping or whatever, I could pick up a gift. It's easier for me because it was on my to-do list. I'm in the store anyway, pick up a gift for both of my children, come home, give them the gift, and I'm good. I don't have to spend time with them. I have boys. I didn't want to play the video game, play with the trucks. So I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I just wanted to hand them a nice new truck or a nice new video game or whatever they want, the most expensive game, the newest game. I wanted to be able to give that and put them to the side, and then I get back to work. My career was my baby during that time. Plus, it was the bread. I was sole provider for my children when I was divorced. That was a mistake because those boys, they value the video games, but beyond that, they didn't value most of the stuff that I given them. The clothes or anything, I could go in there and the toys were being ignored. The only thing that the video games were the hit because they would pick out the video games and mom would pay for it. But the things that I was doing to show them love, they ignored it.
And if you had gotten on the floor and played with them with the truck, all of a sudden that truck now took on real value. And in the book, the 5 love languages for children, the stories the illustrations that the authors make go to that very point of children misbehave. They literally are misbehaving because their parents are not speaking their language. And if you have a child whose parents are speaking the child's language and then something happens and it stops, as in, for instance, mom goes to work or she begins to work more hours, or dad's job becomes more time consuming, so dad's not available, the children begin to act out. So one of the takeaways I think that our listeners should take hold of from this session is, if you're having some unhealthiness going on in your relationship, in any relationship with your spouse, your significant other, with your children, even at work, step back and intentionally try to identify what that person's preferred language, love language is. And you may have spoken it before and been quite fluent in it.
Mm-hmm.
But something happened that caused you to just get rusty, or you've never spoken it. And just do an experiment. Just literally do an experiment for the next week, intentionally, purposefully. And if you don't know what the person's language is, then spend a week on each of the 5 and make notes to see which one you get the most positive response from. And you'll be able to begin to narrow it down. Like, so for me, if you don't buy me gifts now, it's like, I don't really want gifts.
Mm-mm.
And if we hug each other, it's like, we really did. I tell you, when I hug you, the only time I really hug you is when we're praying.
Right.
And then it's not really a hug. It's a closeness, but that's about as, yeah. Other than that, it's like, words of affirmation, quality time, and acts of
Because
service.
I'm not touchy-feely, and I'm like, if you start hugging on me or touching me, I'll be a
Yeah,
little nervous. I'm like,
yeah, I
what?
would be too. And so acts of service, nah.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so, and I did this. Uh, what was, I asked my significant other what his love language was. Well, no, I told him what I thought it was, and I got it on point. And he got mine. Because I pay attention to how he moves and I kind of follow his energy, pay attention. So I'm paying attention. And it's something you do when you're early on in a relationship. So what was Dr. Hawkins's love language?
I think that Dr. Hawkins' love language was words of affirmation. And when I realized that, I tried very hard to constantly, regularly, but probably didn't do it. I'm not going to do that. My husband's been dead for 10 years. Okay, so this is going into the 11th year. The truth is, we actually read the book together. We were coming back from something we'd gone to, and we read the book. I read the book to him as he drove, and we discussed it. And so it was clear words of affirmation and quality time were our 2 languages. There was, the
You
touch was okay. The acts of service was non-existent. The gifts was negligible. It was those first 2. And it would make sense because of our careers and where we were in our careers. I mean, our careers, though, were an extension of who we are, who we are. And his career was one where appreciation was hard to come by from the adults. Of course, the students thought he was all that in a bag of chips with the dip on it. Okay? And he knew that I loved quality time. And his work made it difficult for him to give me quality time, or the way he managed his work made it difficult for him to give me quality time. But he would find time to give me quality time. And I felt like a wind-up doll. When Jim would give me quality time, I was perfectly content, and I'd go off and I'd be happy until I ran down. And then he'd have to wind me back up and I'd go on. But he gave me the most wonderful words of affirmation. The very last words my husband said to me,
Oh, don't cry.
were, I love you. That is the ultimate words of affirmation that you could receive, particularly in light of what happened. Those were the last words,
Mhm.
the very last words he said to me. So when I got notice and realized that he was dead, that's what I remembered. And we had just spent the time together in Atlanta, so I'd gotten quality time. So he went out of here, having left his wife wound up to go for a minute or two.
And she's still
Or-
wound up by him. We're working on getting her wound up by somebody else.
Now listen, we're not doing a okay, this is okay, we'll just pass on to that. Let's just let that roll.
So we're gonna raise that on. So all the men who are listening to this show now know what your love language is. So now they know how to approach you.
Wait, so you need to disclose. So what's your love language that your significant other has hit on the bullseye?
Well, he knows is he figured out his words of affirmation and acts of service. He figured it out. Well, more so words of affirmation. He tells me he appreciates me. He thanks me for the things that I do. And I know physical touch, like you said, is most men's love language, but it's not necessarily just intimacy and sexual touching, but just hand holding. I know
It's being there for them. When they're sick, you're actually there. You're there. You bring them the cup of water. You
touching is touching. He's a cuddler. I wasn't, I'm not affectionate. So, but he is. And so I duplicate that energy and now I enjoy it because I give to him what he gives to me. If he's doing it to me, then that means that's something he wants me to reciprocate to.
say that right there again. That's another takeaway. Pay attention to what people are giving to you and give back to them, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if he's giving you cuddling, that's a pretty big sign. He'd like to get cuddling back from you.
Yeah.
If your man is giving you gifts and he enjoys giving you gifts. Now, mind you, gifts are not monetary, only monetary. Okay. There are a lot of gifts. I mean, hey, if you cooked a brother a good meal, hey, what can I say?
Yeah, I did that though. He's acts of service is other one. Both we act of services. It's just the services that I give to him are more those domestic type services that's not me. But the interesting thing about it is I recognize and accept, and he knows that affection is not my thing. So when he sees me being affectionate to him in the ways that he likes, he appreciates it. And he tells me, which is words of affirmation.
So this thing is really, I'm using the term, we're backdooring into it, but it's a, what is it? A dog chasing its tail. It's a circular thing. The more you and I have our own story that I shared with you about my meeting Dr. Hawkins' needs, and boy, did Dr. Hawkins reciprocate.
Oh, okay, Judy.
That's our story. But
Okay, that's
but
it.
the point I'm making is the more we're willing to give to them, our spouses, our significant others, our children, our family members, your mamas, your daddies, your brothers, your sisters, then move into the workplace. If you have a boss who's insecure, literally insecure and intimidated by you, you may have to start out by working hard to come up with words of affirmation like, I really appreciate that you take this job seriously and that you want to do your best. Now that may be just, but you got the idea. You may have to, I appreciate that you're here on time, that you put in a full day's work, that something. All right, something.
And it may make a difference. You have it may be 5 employees. Your boss, one boss with 5 employees, and you want to do something to stand out. You'll be amazed. I mean, I know I had 5 staff people, and I know that when I was away, they spent a lot of time just talking about me. She sold this, she sold that, she's controlling, she dot, 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 dot. They had all of these horrible things to say about me, I'm sure. But in my face, they love me. I was the best boss. I was the best thing since sliced bread. But I know what happens because I know what I did when I was a staff person. I know what we did about when we were working for you. We picked up on all the negatives. But instead of sitting back and kikiing and cackling and then gossiping about the boss, spend some time trying to figure out her or his love language and give him that. That may be the key to your standing out because not everybody's going to do that. And whether you share it with the other four, it's your business. But I probably wouldn't because I'm competitive. But while they're over there gossiping, I'll be sitting here going, let me see. What does she like? And it'll take me a little while to figure it out. I think that, I mean, I can honestly say, I was the last person to be hired in your office, but I was the last person standing.
You were.
Yeah.
And you spoke each one of my language. You picked up that I had a need for service. I did not want to be bothered with the administrative part of my office. And you came in and for some reason you said, I'll take that over, and I gave it to you. I mean, you can have it. You wanted words of affirmation, Neibra. You're doing an excellent job. I am so glad that I don't have to manage this office anymore. I'm tired of doing all this stuff. Been there, done it, sold my t-shirt. I don't want it. I don't want it. And I spoke your language of words of affirmation because I kept giving you more and more responsibilities. Now, I never said, Neibra, I think you're capable and competent. I just showed it. It was the responsibility. And every one of the responsibilities literally was preparing you so that when you open up your own office, you were quite well capable. And that's the ultimate word of affirmation. You can do this. You can do this.
I think the greatest in the employee relationship, when you became judge and you're just moving along, and I kept saying, well, what's going to happen with me? You know, I'm the last person in the office. Everybody else had quit because they knew you were going to win the judgeship. And I was standing there and I kept saying, what's going to happen to me when she actually wins? You had already decided what was going to happen to me from your end. You were giving me your firm. But I was lost. And so when you won, you said, Neibra, I'm giving you all the furniture. I'm giving you all the cases. I'm giving you my firm because I know you can handle it. I did not understand it then. It didn't take me but a year later, or less than a year later, to understand how great of a gift that was. I think I was too busy belly aching and pouting because you were leaving me. But once I settled down and got over that, I realized that that was one of the greatest acts of affirmation to me, to say, I'm leaving you my legacy and I'm giving it to you. It came with the furniture. I don't know if I told you, but I was still belly aching. I gave all your furniture to Gwen Spencer. I think she laughs because she still has it. But I gave the cases, but I gave the
Shows how good it was.
I didn't take the office. Remember, you left me the office and said, finish out the lease. I did not take it. I didn't. I pouted. But hindsight, you left me your legacy, which is your affirming that I was ready. And if you remember the conversation we had years later after I started my firm, you said, I knew you was ready. You just didn't know. And I'm like, how did you know? She says, why? You said, why would I have left you my firm and everything in it? I gave that to you because I knew that you were ready. You had more faith in me than I had in myself. But again, we know that it takes time. We all have our different walks. I needed to learn to see myself the way you saw me.
And you know what? We're talking about healthy relationships, and it could be, are we sabotaging our relationships being healthy because we're not willing to accept others meeting our needs, that we are so busy pushing back? We're so wanting to object. We're so not willing to accept in faith. I'll use that term, accept in faith, that others see in us potential. Others see in us our primary communication style. And they're feeding it to us, but we're rejecting it. And so because we're rejecting it, if you have someone in your space who sees that you're a lover of gifts and they give you gifts, but you act like, why are they giving me this gift? I don't want it. We're poo-pooing it. But secretly in your heart, you're going, that's really nice. That's kind. That's thoughtful. And as a result, we lose the opportunity to just be, I like the term you use all the time, our authentic selves.
Yeah.
our authentic selves. We're trying to be something that we are not. So let's just own it. Okay? I told you you were ready. I said that to you. One of the few times I probably articulated in your language, words of affirmation. Neibra, I would not give this to you if you're not ready. But you pushed it back. So how many times in relationships has someone said to you, and I will take this now back to the core relationships, the interpersonal relationships with significant others, husbands, wives, and someone says to you, I love you. And we run through our minds all the reasons why they cannot possibly love us. Okay. Or someone wants to spend time with you, and you are afraid that if you spend time with them, quality time with them, which is what you need, they may learn who you really are, and you're afraid that they won't like you.
Yeah.
And so you're sabotaging a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And it's really not that big a deal. When Jason was sick and I was helping out, I remember saying to Dion, you need to treasure this, because I can assure you, when this is over, I'm done. Like, this is not
Not happening again.
not happening. I can walk in their house now, and if the kitchen is dirty, I walk right past it. If there's some clothes, I might fold a basket of clothes, maybe, but there's a high probability I'm gonna walk right past it.
Yeah.
And I told her to enjoy this season, because this is not who I am. This is not my authentic self.
Yeah.
But my authentic self is, I want to show you how much I appreciate you.
Mhm.
And this is something I can do. This is something I can do. I can wash dishes. I can wash clothes. I can fold clothes. I can make a bed. I can sweep a floor.
So I think the moral of the story of this discussion for me, or the takeaway for me, is accepting that my authentic self may not, no, let me say it differently. If I'm being genuine to myself, I may not show you affection. I may not give you quality time, or I may not give you that physical touch. But if the relationship is important to me, I'm going to step outside of my genuine, authentic self. And I'm going to give you what you want in order for me to receive what I want. So it's a win-win, it's a give-give. If
And
I
actually, that becomes your authentic self.
Right. If I hold back the physical touch, the words of affirmation or whatever,
because you didn't give me,
because you didn't give it to me, then it's easy for me. And I think, we're divorce attorneys, so we know our relationship. We've seen a lot of breakdown in relationships. And when it comes to communication, I wish that people would just sit down and spend 15, 20 minutes talking about each other's love languages and asking, are testing each other. Did I get it right? Is this your love language? But if not, being corrected. And then not just being able to spout out the 5 words of affirmation, quality time, but understanding it, like researching, what does quality time look like? What does physical touch look like other than sexual touch? What does receiving gifts look like? And actually do it. And not just in the interpersonal relationship, but in the professional
and
relationship.
just in life, even with them church members, even with them ain'ts. I would suggest, though, before you sit down and have the conversation with the other person, I would like to encourage us to take the initiative and work our gray cells. Read the book yourself. Spend the time identifying your own preferred love language, okay? Then spend the time doing the experiment to see what you can determine on your own. And then practice it, because there's a high probability you're gonna backdoor into it.
Yeah.
You might hit it from the front door, but you're gonna backdoor into it, because if you actually make an experiment, and let's be excited and curious, inquisitive, let's do something different.
I like that. there's no better way to end this discussion than to say, let's do something different. I like that. If you keep what's the saying? If you keep doing the same old, you're gonna get the same old results.
Same results.
Let's do something different. So everybody's homework tonight, everybody's listening to this. Your homework is to
No, it's not your homework, your assignment.
Your assignment. See, I say homework, she say assignment.
I'm a professor.
Which one is it? Homework or assignment? Okay, I'm gonna say homework, you say assignment. So your homework / assignment is, you like that, huh? Is to sit down with your spouse, your significant other, or your friend, your best friend, your bestie, and have a discussion about love languages.
No, that's homework. That's Neibra's take.
Okay.
It's point, counterpoint. Your assignment is to study it yourself, identify your preferred 2 languages, then to intentionally experiment, pick a subject meaning another person. It could be the boss lady. It doesn't matter. Just identify a person and experiment to see if you can identify their preferred language, because you did something from her homework assignment was you understand what it is, what it looks like, how to implement it, and the feedback that you're looking for. So that's why I'm the professor and she's the lawyer. Okay, we good.
Okay, so and interesting. I'm glad you did that, because 2 people, same results, healthy relationships, healthy communication, but we go at it different ways. You want us to try to figure it out. I'm like, I ain't got time to figure nobody out. You need.
Here's the problem. The other person may have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, then we're gonna sit down. We're gonna have a discussion. Babe, come on, let's sit down. Let me pull up these love languages. Let's talk about it. We figure out stuff in our everyday work lives all the time. In my relationship with my friends, in my relationship with my boo, I don't want to figure it out. I want to be clear, because I may get it wrong. So I'm going to sit down with him and we're going to, just like we did it this weekend, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to sit down with my girlfriends. I already know yours. So I'm going to sit down with my other girlfriends and I'm like, look, girl, we're struggling in this relationship. So why don't you tell me your love language? And to be honest with you, I've already had that discussion. I know the love languages of all of my friends. We haven't had the discussion. I haven't had the discussion with all of them, but I know I have identified their love language. The problem is not all of my friends have identified mine, because if they had identified mine, then they would be approaching me differently.
Are we at time yet?
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that,
go back and forth.
The reason I'm saying that, for all of you all listening, you now have 2 of the multiple ways to spend time taking what you have learned from this session, which is this. In order to have a healthy relationship, there's got to be good communication. And good communication comes in various ways. And one way, a highly proven, effective way, is to be aware of how the other person receives communication, how they receive it, and how you give it. And if you can put those same things in harmony, put them in the same scale, maybe not the same note, but in the same scale, you will turn what looks like, pardon my French, a hell of a relationship into a healthy, thriving, surviving, nurturing, long-term, beneficial, give me some more adjectives in here, adverbs, healthy relationship.
That's a healthy. Well, as always, Judy, I so much enjoy every time I have these discussions with you. I walk away more enriched and empowered. And so now that we're on the enrichment empowerment, do you want to have some final comments to talk about the Women's Conference?
Yes. Living the balanced life. By the way, Neibra, I walk away the same way because you met my need of quality time. But living the balanced life means that every aspect of our lives must be in harmony with the other aspects. And those who are important to us must be in harmony with who we are. And the purpose of these conferences is to give us, first of all, to make us aware. A lot of times we just mess up because we just don't know. We're not aware. We're clueless. And so coming to the conference gives you an opportunity to become aware, to hear points and counterpoints, and understand that there are various ways of achieving the same goal. And some ways may be more effective for these people and other ways are more effective for others. But it gives you an opportunity to improve your life. And the more you improve your life, the more you can experience the balanced life. And the more you experience the balanced life, the happier you will be. And that I can say without any equivocation. You want to be happy. You want to live the balanced life, but you got to put in some work. So come on, February 24th, 2024, Tallahassee Community College, 8:45 to 3:30. We'll have a wonderful lunch by Chef Shack.
Yes.
$99 registration fee is worth every dollar of it because you are worth it. You are investing in yourself. And as you invest in yourself, others will benefit and so will you. And register at Eventbrite. See you on Saturday, last Saturday, February 24th, Tallahassee Community College. Living the balanced life, healthy
It's a
relationships.
pleasure talking to you, Judy. I look forward to talking to you again. If we don't get couch time in between, then I'll see you on the screen for Friendly Discourse series number 3.
And the good part about it is we're working on this on ourselves. So we might have another update for you
Yeah,
as a result
let you
of
know
what happened with this one.
All right. Well, you have a great day, Judy. I will see you next time.
You have a great day as well, Neibra, and I am looking forward to seeing you the next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.